Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Mansion. I am your host, your ghost host. Kindly step all the way in, please, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now.
This chamber has no windows and no doors. Which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always
my way. Finally time to talk about one of the most iconic attractions that got turned into a very subpar, terrible film with the Haunted Mansion.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
The Haunted Mansion was released in 2003, starring Eddie Murphy, Nathaniel Parker, Marsha Thomason, Jennifer Tilly, Wallace Shawn. And they took this very campy, but yet very scary at the same time attraction that knew how to do it balanced perfectly into this complete dishonor. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your family, dishonor on your cow. You ruined my attraction.
Is anybody here? We're the Evers from Evers and Evers Real Estate.
And I can say that it really isn't as terrible as it seemed to be. It's still really terrible, but it's not that terrible. There are a couple of scenes that I did enjoy, and they did put a lot of work into the atmosphere and the surroundings. The house is beautiful, and they really did stay true to what they were doing with the attraction. But y'all had Eddie Murphy ruin it. His character is the most irritating character ever, Jim Evers, with that stupid grin where it literally is he's as happy as he can be.
We want you to be happy for Evers and Evers.
No, don't do that. It's not the type of film. And it's interesting because they end up basing a lot of this film's storyline on the Phantom Manor, which is the Disneyland Paris's version of the Haunted Mansion. And that has a completely different story compared to our Haunted Mansion in America. All the Haunted Mansions are actually very different from each other, and that's really cool because you have our Haunted Mansion in California, which is in New Orleans Square. We have ours in Disney World in Liberty Square, and then Disneyland Paris has it in Frontierland, and it's all Western themed down south. Then you also have Tokyo's Disneyland, which is completely different as well. And Shanghai doesn't even really have a Haunted Mansion because they don't believe in that type of stuff, so it's just Mystical Manor instead. We're rumored to get that in Epcot, which would be really cool because it's trackless and this thing looks amazing. I'd love to go on it. To the rest of the Haunted Mansions that kind of were very vague with their stories, the Phantom Manor does have a very distinct story about a long lost bride that died and is haunting the mansion. And that brings our presence into what we have with this film. Initially, we actually got permission for a Haunted Mansion movie back in the 80s when Ghostbusters was such a success. That's when Disney originally greenlit it, but they only wanted either Rick Moranis or Dan Aykroyd or Harold Ramis or Bill Murray to star in this role, so it was only up if the Ghostbusters cast, any of them starred in this film.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! I can't hear you. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
That didn't happen. We didn't get them. We got Eddie Murphy.
For Evers and Evers.
It's not as terrible as it could have been. There are still very beautiful scenes in it. They did try, and I have to give them credit because they really did put a lot of heart and soul into this film, especially because of how closely they did try to recreate the scenes. But I feel like they went in a misdirection and they should have gotten different people to be in this film. Eddie Murphy is just very obnoxious. He can do some good stuff. Like, he's fantastic as Mushu. I love him as Mushu. But the character that they gave him was just very off-putting, and I feel like that ruined a lot of the movie already. And I know they're doing a family tale, and it's a really sweet moment how the family has to work together and to help the ghost crossed over, but at the same time it was too campy and too obnoxious. It wasn't balanced enough. They didn't have a lot of the spooky camp that worked really well, that was still scarier. They focused more on the humor and made it a full-out comedy. And that's what I didn't like. I need to be a little bit darker. It's a dark ride. We need to have it be more sinister, dark type of feeling and give it a more Halloween scary feel. A couple of scenes I did like. The graveyard scene. The graveyard scene was gorgeous. They did a very excellent job with the CGI and with the ghost, and really presented that fantastically.
You'll kill us all! Some of us are already dead!
I did really enjoy the Dapper Dance. That was another cute little campy but still spooky moment that they did.
Doom, 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 when the cryptos creak and the tombstones quake, spooks come up for a swinging way.
Guys, excuse me, sorry about this. I was wondering if you wanted to know where the mausoleum was.
Down by the old mill stream where I first met.
No, I think they...
So they had very few scenes that I really enjoyed, but they did try, and I can't knock them for that. I also didn't like how Jennifer Tilly played Madame Leota.
What are you doing?
Hey, you leave me alone. Just get out of here and leave me alone.
Oh, I see. You're just gonna sit there feeling sorry for yourself.
I feel like they made a mockery out of Madame Leota and made her look like a kook compared to her being a very mystical crystal ball in the film, or in the attraction. I really love Madame Leota. Madame Leota is a goddess. Don't mock her. And Jennifer Tilly is great, but she didn't play the character well. And I know it's not all just one person's fault. It's the writers, it's the direction they went into, but they just went into a completely wrong direction. And it failed. And they know it failed. Master Gracie did do an excellent job though. Nathaniel Parker did a wonderful job as Gracie. I feel like he was the best person there in the cast. The kids are really well done too. I can't really knock the kids because the kids had really good acting for their age. I really liked the sister and brother. They did have a good chemistry between each other, but Eddie Murphy as their father just ruined anything. And I did like the mother too. And I liked the story with her and Sarah, but at the same time, I still wasn't the hugest fan of the whole thing. But Disney knows this movie failed. That's why Pirates is the only one that's now continuing to run, and Disney hasn't done any more attraction-based films, unfortunately. And there have been rumors that Guillermo del Toro has been working on a Haunted Mansion script and rebooting this. Please, please, please let this happen. It's been in talks for years. I have wanted this to be in production for years. Can we please finally get it working? Because it would be brilliant. I love his work. He does excellent work. Crimson Peak, for example, is breathtakingly beautiful story. It's a haunted love story, and that's exactly the type of direction we need for the Haunted Mansion. For our bride. Do it for our bride and give her the right story that she needs. And let us get the Hatbox Ghost back and more of the hitchhiking ghosts and the very iconic characters that this ride has given us. I please stand for a Guillermo del Toro film, and it needs to happen, and I really hope it happens within the next decade because it's taken so long and it's time. I will vote for a reboot to make things right. It was interesting how they promoted this film too, because they had a music video with Raven-Symoné with Superstition, the Stevie Wonder classic.
You believe in things that you don't understand when you suffer. The superstition ain't way.
And that was really entertaining, but can't beat Stevie Wonder. And they also had a couple of different tips and tricks for Halloween. during that time period, sponsored by Haunted Mansion, which was really cool because I do remember that we did do some of this stuff.
Let your parents help you turn the pumpkin into a really scary face and then place one of the walkie-talkies inside. Go hide in the front yard, and when someone comes to trick or treat, let the insults fly. And if they catch you in the bushes, just say, I saw the chap who was making fun of you. He went that away. Now then, where's my pizza?
So that was a cool moment for Disney Channel, and that was really fun. That's a positive note with this movie. But everything else is terrible. The Haunted Mansion as an attraction is one of my favorites. It's up there with Nightmare Before Christmas, and we know that Nightmare Before Christmas does an overlay with Haunted Mansion and Disneyland. I unfortunately have not gotten to go on that yet because I have not been to Disneyland, but it's soon. Hopefully I'll be able to experience, and I will fangirl all over it because Haunted Mansion is one of my all-time favorite attractions in any of the parks. I used to be afraid of it when I was 10, and now I'm obsessed with it. So we're gonna put our attention again onto one more horror film with Fright Night tomorrow. So you can stay tuned. As always, hurry back, and be sure to bring your death certificate.